there, everybody. This is Michael Ludden with my review of the Google Pixel XL. This is just a review of the larger one. I'm going to do a separate review of the Google Pixel, but I will compare a few things between the two. So this is going to be sort of my comprehensive review here after using it for about a week and a half since launch as my main daily driver. So as you can see, it's running Nougat. This is the first quote-unquote phone by Google, so they say, as opposed to the Nexuses, which were done in partnership with other companies. Google has said they have done the entire thing themselves with sort of HTC, which they don't like to talk about, as the ODM, meaning that it's a similar arrangement to Apple with Foxconn as their ODM. So Apple does the entire phone, and they're produced at HTC or at Foxconn's factories. Google does the entire phone, and it's produced at HTC's factories for this one. So a couple things to note about this. This is unlocked and available for any carrier, including CDMA carriers like Verizon. It's sold exclusively in-store by Verizon, but you can buy it online, which I did, from the Google Play Store. I believe you can also buy it at Best Buy online, I think, not in person. It has fast software updates directly from Google with no carrier bloatware whatsoever. So the price for this guy is $769. For the Pixel XL 32 gigabytes, which is what I got, in very silver, and or silver, I forget. And then you can get a 128 gigabyte edition for $869. The cheaper Pixel is $649 for the regular one with the smaller screen, 5-inch screen, 32 gigabytes, and $749 for 128 gigabytes. So here's what we're going to go over in this review. We're going to talk about the good, bad, the ugly. Should you buy it? Should you upgrade from another flagship smartphone that you bought this year? And should you get either the Pixel or the Pixel XL? So starting off with the good, let's talk about this. Yay, it has a headphone jack. Never thought this would be a feature in 2016, but it is. I have a lot of headsets that are wired. I have some that are not wired. I don't always want to juggle a bunch of things that have batteries. And so, yeah, there you go. If you're an iPhone user, this has a headphone jack. That's a feature. Performance on this phone is the best I've ever seen on any phone. I know there's some benchmarks that say, oh no, this one's faster, that one's faster. In real life, everyday use, in terms of opening, switching, and multitasking, it's faster than the iPhone 7 Plus. It's faster than the Galaxy S7 Edge. This has a lot to do with the Snapdragon 821 processor, which is newer than the processor in the Galaxy S7 Edge, and rest in peace, Note 7. Now, some games do take longer to load than they do on the iPhone 7 Plus, but once they do, it's very easy to multitask between them, very seamless, and especially if you turn down the animations, there's nothing, and I mean nothing, that's able to slow this thing down. You can have a million apps open and switch between them instantly. It's not buggy. There's no freezing like you get on the iPhone 7 Plus that I've seen, and you know, it's just great. It also has UFS 2.0 internal storage, which the Galaxy line launched first with, and that helps speed it up a lot, along with the 4 gigabytes of RAM and the newer processor. So the performance is the best I've seen on any device, and it's not very buggy either, unlike TouchWiz. There's no TouchWiz lag either, which is something separate we'll talk about later. So battery life is the best. This has a 3,500 milliamp hour battery, slightly larger than the Galaxy S7 Edge, but with the newer processor and Google's lack of TouchWiz bloatware, works a lot better, and I've gotten up to 17 hours of use, heavy use in a day. This thing's a beast, and I love it. Better than the iPhone Plus, better than the Galaxy S7 Edge. So battery life is your thing. This phone is the champion. I know there are Droids out there. I haven't used them, but they have other Achilles heels like camera and poor performance and stuff that I don't like. So in terms of what I would say the top 3 phones out there, the Galaxy line, the iPhone, and now the Pixel, I would say the Pixel has the best battery life, hands down. Pixel XL. Camera's the best. So overall, and I'm going to spend some time on this, I would say that the camera that Google has here is the best. They talk up that there's no camera bump. I actually agree. It's annoying when there's a camera bump. You can scratch it easily, but here's why it's the best. And it's a bit of a long description. So it has really good hardware that's on par with the other ones, except that it doesn't have optical image stabilization. But the laser autofocus is extremely fast. I was worried about that because I was coming from the Galaxy S7 Edge, and that has the dual pixel focus, which is about 3 times faster than the iPhone 7 Plus. But no worries here. This is at least as fast as the Galaxy S7 Edge, and that's shocking to me. It even has the double tap to open thing, so you do it from the power button, which I'm still getting used to. whereas on the Galaxy S7 Edge, you do it from the home button. Either way, I like those. iPhone doesn't have that. So in terms of focusing fast and opening fast, nothing can beat this phone. And the Galaxy S7 Edge can compete, but doesn't win out. So I would say that a lot of the reason, actually pretty much all of the reason that this is better is software. So Google doesn't have optical image stabilization. It has electronic image stabilization, which is essentially software stabilizing your video after the fact, and it looks amazing. It works better in almost every situation for me, minus some random herky-jerky stuff, than any other optical image stabilization option. Certainly better than the iPhone 7 Plus and Galaxy S7 Edge. Makes you feel like a pro filmer, like you have a gimbal that you're wearing. It's pretty cool. Lot less shaky than this video, by the way. HDR Plus mode is the other thing that lets you take amazing low light image using what Google is calling mathematical photography to sort of reduce noise. So low light pictures turn out better than the iPhone 7 Plus and the Galaxy S7 Edge on the whole. Same thing in daylight. So those two software features really make it the best. The hardware itself, if you're a professional photographer, is not as good, frankly. And that means if you want to, use the Pro mode, the Galaxy S7 Edge is the way to go. They have a full-featured editing suite and Pro mode, so you can change the exposure and do all that kind of stuff. But for most people, just shooting photos quickly every day, which is me, this takes better photos, and that's really what you need to focus on. Unless you're one of those people that needs to have RAW mode, needs to have the hardware, optical image stabilization, and so you can change the aperture and this and that and the other thing. But for most people, because of the software and the way that Google ties the software to the hardware, this is by far, not by far, this is just ahead of the Galaxy S7 Edge. And for me, a lot ahead of the Galaxy iPhone 7 Plus. Gosh, you guys need to pick simpler words. Bottom line, best camera for most. Also, best front-facing camera, hands down. No wide-angle lens like the Galaxy S7 Edge, which I miss, but it's not as narrow as the iPhone, and it's much higher quality, pulling out more details. 8 megapixel, bigger pixels than the other ones, U1.55. So the screen is one of the best. I would say it's the best, except for the Galaxy S7 Edge and rest in peace Note 7. It's just way better than any LCD screen that Apple can put out, or anybody else at this point. It's AMOLED, and this seems like it's the same generation panel as the Galaxy S7 Edge, maybe right before it. It doesn't have quite the same viewing angles. We'll try to show you that a little bit. It has great viewing angles, don't get me wrong. It is as good as an iPhone, but the Galaxy S7 Edge had just insane viewing angles. But on the whole, it's just barely not as good, but it's the best screen out there except for the Galaxy S7 Edge, and one of the best ever put out. QHD resolution, deep blacks, white whites. So another thing that's great about this phone is that it's unlocked for all. Even iPhone doesn't do this anymore, so if you have a GSM carrier like AT&T, they'll ship you a phone that's unlocked, but it doesn't have CDMA capabilities, so you can't use Verizon. This just ships one model, you can use it on any device, and I love that. This is the fastest charging phone I've ever used. It does charge 7 hours and 15 minutes, which is Google's claim. And so couple that with great battery life. I don't charge it often, but when I do, I charge it quickly, and it's very, very convenient, and I can rely on this phone. And that's a big deal. It's even faster than Qualcomm Charge 2.0, which this phone doesn't have, and we'll talk about that in the bad section. Software is consistent, clean, and smooth. No bloat from carriers, fast updates from Google. Google Assistant's great. I'm not going to touch on that, although they talked it up. That's better than Siri, better than Cortana. That's not saying that much, and it's probably going to get better over time. No TouchWiz lag, right? So the touch response is about as good as I've seen on iOS, thanks to the marriage of hardware and software and Google focusing on that aspect. And so this is the phone you want to give to your family who wants to try Android for the first time if they're coming from iOS for that reason, among others. There aren't many bugs, it's just smooth, and the touch response is really stellar. Let's go into the bad now. So the bad is there is no wireless charging. I have a lot of wireless chargers. If I go to Starbucks, there's a lot. I used to be able to impress my friends just putting it on there. I bought an IKEA lamp that has wireless charging on it, and now that doesn't work. It's 2016. It's time to get wireless charging on everything. It's just much more convenient, and that kind of sucks. And I got used to it. So no Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0 either. So this is a proprietary method. I think it's 17 milliamp or 17 watt or something. It's a high voltage charger, and it charges fast. But if you don't use the included charger, you're not going to get fast charging. So if you have Qualcomm Quick Charge 2.0 accessories, there are a lot out there. I have a car charger. I have a mobile battery pack. This doesn't charge especially fast with that, just normally. So you only can get the quick charging with Google's wall charger because the cord it needs to use is USB-C to USB-C as well. So that's annoying. But if you carry that with you everywhere, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. No waterproofing. There's no waterproofing on this phone. I got used to taking my phone into the shower to listen to a podcast. I got used to not worrying if I dropped my Galaxy S7 in the toilet, which I did a couple of times. And it rains a lot in San Francisco where I live, and if I had it out and texting somebody, I didn't worry about that. Now I worry about all those things, and that's frustrating. It doesn't have nearly as good waterproofing, and you really shouldn't get it wet, which is a bummer. It's 2016. Most other phones now have waterproofing. Even iPhone followed Samsung eventually and did that, but this doesn't have it. Massive bezels. Look at these bezels. Now I get it. It compares favorably to the iPhone because it's even bigger. And if your target audience is converting people from iOS, yes, okay, that's fine. But after coming from Samsung devices and looking at the new Xiaomi devices that are coming out, and pretty much everybody, there's no need for this, especially that. There's nothing there. What's going on, guys? Bezels are annoying. Always on display. I miss always on display. It does have ambient display, so when you get a notification, it will turn on the display, or you can turn that on. And it also has a notification light, which is fine, but I miss the always on display where I can just quickly look at the time, the date, get latest updates on notifications without wasting battery or my effort to turn on the screen. No dual front-facing speakers, so Apple has added dual side-facing speakers. Samsung still has just the single lower one, which is what this has. But honestly, I'm not looking at this for a boombox. That's not my purpose in getting a phone. I have Bluetooth accessories for that, etc. But it is nice to have if you have front-facing speakers. And the Nexus 6P did have it, so if you're coming from that, you're not going to get those. Which is weird because there's plenty of real estate on the screen to do that. And it's expensive. This phone costs a lot. So is it the best value? No. But let's get to what it is. So, is it the best smartphone to buy, and should you buy it? Well, it is the best smartphone to buy in my opinion in every way. There's really no weakness, and to me, it's more than the sum of its parts. Rest in peace, Note 7. This would be a different conversation if that phone was still available. But is it the best value for the price? Absolutely not. I mean, you can get for example, a ZTE Axon 7 unlocked for GSM, not CDMA, for $399. You're not going to miss out on an incredible time. I mean, it doesn't have all the latest specs and features this does, but it looks nice. Smaller bezels, you get a few perks like better bitrate on audio, front-facing speakers, etc. So if you're on Verizon, though, CDMA, I don't know, maybe Droid, I don't know what you can get. But there's a lot of phones, is the point, that you can get for probably half the cost that have almost as many features and really good whatever you want. So it's not the best value, but it is the best phone for the reasons I've described. So, should you upgrade? If you already have a Galaxy S7 Edge or an iPhone 7 Plus, no, you shouldn't. I did. I upgraded from a Galaxy S7 Edge. You could, but I would say it's not worth your buy. Better wait for the next version or something else to come out next year that's faster. But it's not it's not $700 and $900 better than those phones. If you have literally any other 2016 phone, it is worth the upgrade for sure. And if you're just a tech nerd like me, this is going to last a while. Google's got a 2-year guarantee. Yeah, you should upgrade. And if you upgrade, should you get the Pixel XL or the Pixel? Well, that depends. I don't have the Pixel on me right now, but I'll do a separate review of it. It's smaller, but everything's the same except for the screen size and resolution. So 5.5-inch QHD, better for VR, especially when Daydream comes out. So if you want to do that, you want the XL. The Pixel is a 5-inch screen, 1080p, which means it's going to be lower resolution in VR, but for everyday use, it might even get better performance, as it's not pushing as many pixels and it's not as bright. It does have a smaller battery, and battery life does suffer, but not as much as you'd think. So the Pixel is a really great deal, and it's also $120 less. You should think about it if you're not going to do VR and you have smaller hands, or you don't like a phone that requires you to kind of play around with it with 2 hands most of the time. So it's up to you. I got the Pixel XL because I love that and need that extra battery life. I am going to do VR, and of course, I just like big phones, as I've said before. So here's the verdict. This is the best phone ever made, and you should get it right now if you can, and if you want to. And it's only going to get better, right? So Google has that 2-year guarantee, which means they're going to support it with software for 2 years. And it's usable on any carrier, GSM and CDMA, something the iPhone, again, doesn't even offer. It just works. There's not a lot of bugs. Updates direct from Google and promise of support. And there's a lot of muscle behind this phone. So I think this phone's going to have longevity. I think I will be using it for a while. It's a beta tester's dream, but it's also a dream of somebody switching from iOS. I've had a few people switch to this and they have not regretted it for a second. They love the camera. There's really no massive weakness in this thing. There's little niggles that they can hopefully do better the next time, and you should get it right now if you can.